Hey, what's up, YouTube? Red and Bordy here, back with a special open beta video. We're going to tell you about everything about the open beta you need to know to get in there, to get playing, what's in there, and, you know, what server lists you should be joining, or what server you should look to be joining. So here we go, Bordy, real quick. How to get into the beta. Now, you will just simply open Steam, go to the New World page, or search New World in the tab. And down below, the options to purchase the game will be a enter closed beta or join the New World open beta test. You will click that button. They will send you an email to whatever email account your Steam is linked to. Then you will follow the instructions in that email to activate your account or prime your account for the download of New World open beta. And that date happens to be September 9th. 9/9/2021, Bordy. So, dude, why don't you tell people about the dates of the beta?
Yeah, man, beta is going to begin on September 9th at 7 o'clock a.m. PT, and it's going to continue until September the 12th at 11:59 PT. So we're going to have a weekend full of fun, man. So
real quick, here is the quick list of the servers that you'll be able to join, and we'll flash those on the screen right now. Let's know some things real quick here, Bordy. This is a different server list than the closed beta. So if you were anticipating potentially staying on the same server or the same server name that you were going to play on from closed beta to open beta to potential lead launch, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, Bordy. You know, the changes have been made, and there are some familiar names like Olympus, but there are a lot of other ones that have changed.
Yeah, I don't know what the rationale was behind that, but they definitely changed the server name. So make sure you check out that list there and plan accordingly.
All right, Bordy. So here's the big part of this video, and it's the patch notes. Now, guys, there's been some concerns, Bordy, about the state of closed beta. Some of the things that were, you know, exploitable in there. Some of the ways that people were using to level up in there. People were a little bit, I think, on the edge about those making their way into launch. But we're going to go through these open beta notes, and I think a lot of you are going to find some peace, some inner peace, Bordy, because a lot of the changes that we thought needed to happen, as usual. I mean, New World has a pretty good track record, Bordy, of making sure to listen and make the necessary changes. So, Bordy, why don't you start here with the world experience changes?
Yeah, so a quick preface here. We're not going to go over every single patch note that's out there. We'll link them in the description below so you guys can check them out for yourself if you so wish. We're going to hit the highlights. We're going to talk about some of the more important things. We are going to go through most of them. So if you don't want to read the patch notes yourself, don't worry, because you're going to get most of the important information here in this video anyway. So the world experience is one of those sections that we're not going to go over every single thing, because they talked about expeditions, the world quest, and some tech adjustments. So there were just some fixes made to the expeditions in the world that included issues with players like getting stuck, not being able to move around the expeditions properly. And then they increased the new player experience on the beach, and they fixed certain issues with some quests and other exploits. So for example, one of the big ones is they fixed multiple quests across the world that were causing bottlenecks due to large amounts of players attempting the same objective. So there were just a few things like that they tweaked and adjusted, excuse me. So yeah, there wasn't a lot there, man. Just some bug fixes and some other good things that needed to happen.
Yes, sir. Okay, so here are the AI or tuning adjustments. These are pretty interesting, I think, Bordy. So the first one is increased damage scaling for AI above level 50 and AI above level 50 and above. Those are from the patch notes. I know I have trouble speaking, Bordy, but that is written in there, okay? Gradual scaling from 0% up to 25% at level 66. So again, just increasing the difficulty of these mobs. Increased health scaling for AI above level 30. So the gradual scaling from 0% up to 15% at level 66. Again, good things, dude. We like I think the aim for combat, specifically PvE combat in New World, is to be interactive and difficult. So, you know, any way that they can increase that, I think, is good. Open world non-boss elites. Increase the health and the damage to bring them more in line with expedition difficulty level expedition difficulty enemies. My gosh, dude. Increase damage of all non-boss open world elite by 12 to 17%, and increased health of elite plus AIs, which are like corrupted ogres, corrupted bears, etc., They increased that by 60%. My gosh, that is a lot of increased health, dude. Open world and arena bosses increase health and damage to bring them more in line with expedition difficulty enemies. They increase boss damage by 20% and increase boss health by 33%. And as far as expedition goes, the AI changes. They increase damage for all expedition AI by 13%. All of them, dude. So again, these are going to get a little bit more difficult. This was one of the complaints, in the closed beta, was that some of the PvE, specifically the expeditions, are pretty easy.
Yeah, and I like this. It's going to make them more difficult for sure. And it also makes a lot of the open world enemies more difficult as well. Increased health plus elite plus AIs of the corrupted ogres and bears by 60%. Dude, that's a huge buff to health to those. So soloing those things is going to get a little bit more difficult. I like those changes, man. I like the fact that they increased them and made that stuff harder. I think that's a very, very good section that you just went through there, Red. So I'm going to go over some notable bug fixes here, man. And I don't know if we'll go over every one of these, but I'm going to read through some of the more important ones. So players may no longer transfer boss status effects back to the boss through the use of contagious reverse stab perk. So if you guys were using that, that was a bug and they fixed it. So you no longer can transfer those statuses back to bosses. It was pretty crazy, man. They resolved several leashing bugs that allow players to kill AI from unreachable positions, which is a really good fix. Resolved a bug preventing dynasty trainees from damaging the player. So then here's one, man. They fixed a lot of stuff with the Spriggan Arena. We won't go through every one of these, but the Spriggan Arena did have some issues, and so they fixed a lot of bugs within that to make it a little bit better, which I like because it is kind of a fun event, and they needed to kind of iterate on that a little bit, and it did have a few bugs. So they just addressed that, fixed some of those bugs. And then expeditions, they went through the expeditions and they fixed several. Like the depths, they fixed an issue that caused Archdeacon's mines to not be destroyed when he is interrupted by destroying his monoliths. Fixed an issue that caused Archdeacon to skip phases if pulled to room entrance. So there's just several of those types of bug fixes with expeditions that are all really good stuff, man. So they're just working on those, fleshing those out, fine-tuning those. So we won't go through every one of those. Let's just jump down to the combat section, Red, and let's talk about combat a little bit, dude.
Yes, sir. So here's a big one, Bordy. This is one of people's biggest complaints during the closed beta, and that was PvP scaling. Now, PvP scaling has been reduced. The level difference will matter more in your encounters, meaning that you will take more hits, or it will take more hits for a lower level player to kill a higher level player, and less hits for a higher level player to kill a lower level player. So again, the damage scaling in PvP has been adjusted. It won't feel so daunting, or at least fair, I guess. If you're a high level person, a level 60 fighting a level 20, you're gonna have a little bit of an edge now, which I think is good, dude. Overall, it's an MMO. Leveling up and getting better gear should be rewarding in all aspects of the game, and this should give those higher level people a little bit more of an advantage than they did have in the closed beta.
Yeah, I would think so. I would imagine we'll see that get adjusted multiple times, maybe again on release after this open beta. I think PvP scaling is such a hot button issue. I think they'll eventually get it right, but it is just going to take some tweaking over time.
So the attribute threshold bonus has changed for Constitution. They reduced Constitution, the 250 point attribute threshold bonus reduction down from 80% to 60%. So that's a big change, 20% nerf. Warhammer, reduced Warhammer hardened steel damage reduction from 20% to 15%. The Sword and Shield, freeing Justice passive will now only remove a single debuff, not all debuffs. And you'll see this is a theme for all the other weapons as well. Fortitude has been replaced by Invigorating Bulwark. This passive will grant 15% stamina on hit with the Shield Bash or Shield Rush abilities. A good way for a tank to maintain their stamina at that point. You're using your cooldowns to recoup some block stamina, which is good. Leaping Strikes, startup frames reduced from 16 to 14. Leaping Strike distance increased from 4 to 6. Counterattack has been modified to be able to stack and obtain a better bonus. It now grants a 3% empower for 5 seconds when blocking an attack and can stack up to 5 times for a maximum amount of 15% empower. Previously, it would grant a 10% empower for 20 seconds after blocking an attack. So here's another big hot button topic, Bordy, is the Life Staff. Now, Sacred Protection passive change to grant a 5% increase in incoming healing efficiency to all group members. They use to grant additional max HP and reduced effectiveness of Orb of Protection Fortify from 15% to 10%. So not the changes people wanted, dude. I think people were looking for heavy nerfs to the life staff, but we are going to talk more about that later because it did see some other attention outside of the ability modifications.
Yeah.
So why don't you take it here with your prized possession, the hatchet?
Yeah, man. So I love the hatchet. So hatchet, they just changed berserk duration. They reduced it to 12 seconds, and the cooldown has been increased to 18 seconds. They kind of nerfed berserk just a little bit. Berserking refresh now deals 10% every 4 seconds, while berserk is active to a max of 30% health, and it was every 5 seconds for a max of 35% health. So not a huge change to the hatchet, but they did, I think, nerf it a little bit. The berserking refresh, they just kind of adjusted the heal and nerfed how much you heal. It's not a huge nerf though. Great Axe reduced effectiveness of Gravity Well Unyielding Fortifying upgrade from 15% to 10%. They reduced the Great Axe Enduring Strike Damage reduction bonus from 20% to 15%. And the second hit of Reap no longer has Stagger on it. So a few little nerfs there to Great Axe. I still think overall Great Axe is going to be a pretty good weapon. We'll talk about some of the bug fixes for that weapon here in just a second as well. And I'll go ahead and cover the bow too. Red reduced effectiveness of bow Unbreakable Focus Fortify passive from 20% to 10%. So they just cut that Fortify passive in half. So a little bit of a nerf there. So take it away with chain perks, man.
Yeah, so they reduced the number of times the chain perks chain to another target from 5 to 3. Chain elemental perks now only trigger off basic attacks that are light and heavy and have a 2% cooldown. So you can't just chain your lightnings. You know, there's some perks on weapons that allow you to change lightning damage and stuff like that. So those have been reduced as far as sort of like an AoE cap in a way. Equip load updates. Another massive request thing here, Bordy. And dude, we got our wish because they completely changed the equip load updates. The 20% damage increase from light equip load and 10% damage increase for medium equip load should also affect healing output for the character. Healing is reduced by 20% to account for this. We want the best healer to be in light gear. Now, dude, you know, there's some commentary to be had on this. Maybe this is for another time. But that is a significant nerf to healing overall, 20% reduction in total healing. But to be clear, you were not receiving any bonus from any armor initially. So during the closed beta, you were not getting a bonus for light or medium for healing. The damage increase did not apply to your healing. So now they do. So you're basically going to need to wear light armor to get to the healing amount that you were getting in the closed beta. But Bordy, you know, medium, that's only a 10% difference. I feel like, you know, I feel like that's not that big of a deal, you know, and so we'll see. Healing, I think, is going to be still super strong.
I think so, but I think the biggest complaint here, Red, was that you couldn't die as a healer because people were running around in all heavy armor and they were just mitigating a ton of damage plus healing on top of that. So you couldn't die. So whenever you're healing, you're just stacking heals on yourself and wearing heavy armor. Well, now they're changing that so that if you want to be a really effective healer, you're going to have to be in light gear. So then if you're in light gear, you're no longer going to be able to out heal and out mitigate all the damage that's coming your way. So I think that's the biggest change to the healer. I think the healing itself was fine. I think the problem was you couldn't die because the meta was to run heavy armor and a life staff and you could just live forever. Now that's not going to be the case. So I think this is a kind of a huge hit to healing, and on paper I personally like it a lot. We'll see how it works out in practice.
Well, I think the bigger change is with the armor because now you have reduced the medium equip load threshold from 15 to 13 and the heavy threshold from 30 down to 23. Those are massive reductions to your overall weight requirements. So it's going to be really hard to stay in the light range without having almost all light gear on. And so that's where it's going to come into play where, you know, like you said, healers aren't going to be able to just stand in their own healing pools and mitigate like 40% damage, which is what they were doing prior. Now, I believe light armor, you know, is at least half of that as far as mitigation goes, if not more. So, you know, overall, dude, we should see an adjustment, but I guess time will tell if it's going to be enough or not. They normalize the weight of protection ratios, physical, elemental, and balance with each armor class. They increase the armor provided by chest piece and reduce the amount provided by helmets. Now, this is significant, Bordy, because obviously chest is the highest weight, equip weight of any of your armor. So now you're going to get a lot of your armor from your chest piece choice, which is also going to affect your equip weight pretty heavily.
Because it's the heaviest piece. That's correct. Yeah. So all this stuff ties in together really well, man. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Big changes kind of hidden here for sure.
Yeah. Thank goodness one of us didn't spend over 20 hours on an armor guide prior to these, Slightly increase the armor granted by balance ratios to match the total armor provided by physical and elemental ratios, and then reduce the weight of round and kite shields. So, Bordy, why don't you take it away with housing trophies?
Yeah, man. So this is kind of a bigger, or well, not a huge nerf, I guess, but they did reduce the damage bonus against creature families from 6, 8, and 10% to 3, 4, and 5%. And then they also changed potions will now be included in the clamping of the Empower and Fortify buffs. All right, so they made some pretty big changes to consumables as well, to the duration of the potions, which is a pretty big change. So for elemental damage consumables, they updated the duration from 3 minutes all the way down to 30 seconds. That's a huge nerf.
Yeah.
Updated the effect of consumables from 10, 15, 25 to 9, 12, and 15%. So not only did they nerf the duration, they nerfed the effectiveness of the consumable as well, which is pretty crazy. I'm not sure a lot of people are going to be using these.
Yeah, well, I think they will be. I just think, being in the Arcana market is going to be a great place to be.
Well, that's true.
People are going to be chugging these things left and right.
That is true. Quick plug. We're going to have a very long Arcana guide coming up soon as well.
Yeah, as soon as you correct it.
You guys are going to check that out. Yeah, I got to correct it now for some of these patches.
Yeah.
We also have huge nerfs to the other consumables, like the creature family absorption consumables. They updated the duration from 5 minutes all the way down to 20 seconds, dude, which is crazy. They set all absorption consumables to have a 120-second shared cooldown, which is another huge thing. So you can only use one of these. You can pop one for 20 seconds, and then you can't use another one for another 100 seconds after you use the first one. That's crazy, man. They nerfed those things pretty hard. So then the Oak Flesh Bomb and Gemstone Dust consumables, they changed those as well. They dropped those from 5 minutes down to 30 seconds, which is pretty crazy. They also updated the effects on all of those things too, man. They nerfed those consumables quite a lot, Red. It's pretty crazy. So let's check out Siege Turrets, man. How about you take that part?
All right. They increased explosive cannon damage by 30%. Capped repeater max damage fall off at 90% instead of 100%. Repeater damage fallout now starts at 80 meters instead of 60 meters, so they increase the range of it technically. The siege weapons damage is now being mitigated by armor, which I guess apparently that was not before. That's a big oversight. Siege weapons increase the damage by 20%. So hey, your armor doesn't matter anyways because they increase the damage by 20%. Dude, these are great changes to siege warfare, right? Because a lot of the problems where people were able to stack the points with healing. And you could just, kind of tank through everything. And now you're going to have to be more aware when a cannon is blasting you in the face.
Yes, and now you're going to have to protect your healers in the back line because they're going to be back there in light armor, dude. They can't just go stand on the point and stack heals on the point, man. It's going to change the dynamic quite a bit with these changes, for sure.
I hope that does.
Yes. Yeah. Increasing siege turret damage and then the changes to healers, sieges are going to be quite a bit different than they were in the closed beta.
Yeah. Lifestyle buff. Reduced effectiveness of Arcane Blessing. Lifestyle buff corrupted enemies absorption from 20% to 5%. Man, all these buffs are taking hits. Perks, fortified recovery effectiveness reduced from 30% to 10%. Keenly fortified effectiveness reduced from 30% to 10%. And then mortal fortification effectiveness reduced from 30% to 10%. So a lot of perks on armor are taking hits here too. Healing potions. Increased base health gain from health potions from 160, 300, 650, 1200, and 1800. And then they increase them. So they increase the tier 1 health potions by 40 health. The tier 2 by 100. Tier 3 by 250. Tier 4 by 400 health. And then tier 5 by 600 health. But here's another important change. They decrease the amount of health gained by the potions per percent of your max health by 15% to 7%. So I'm sure those numbers work out, roughly in the favor of a nerf. if
I
we're
would think so.
being conservative there. So increased base health of regeneration potions from 30, 65, 120, and 180 to 40, 90, 160, 240, and decrease the amount of health gain per section from the regen potions based off a percentage of your max health. Or they decreased it, sorry, from 1.5% to 0.7%. So apparently, you know, and again, it seemed like the Constitution stat was very powerful in the closed beta, and they're just finding even more ways to kind of nerf that, kind of ninja nerf here by nerfing potions and the max health benefit you're getting. Endurance potions, they removed endurance potions from alchemy crafting stations, and they basically, why don't they just say removed from the game? That's what happened. This will be happened several times in the patch notes, but the endurance potions are no longer a thing. Amber gems, another big problem with healing and the healing builds. They reduce the damage scaling obtained from the amber gem when putting attributes into focus by 20%.
Yeah, and this is another like kind of nerf to healing, or not to healing in particular, but like you said, to those healing builds, man. So a lot of people were running life staff and then throwing an ember gem on their back bar for one of their weapons, and that's another way they were running around, just doing a lot of damage plus out healing everybody, and those builds were incredibly powerful. Well, now they nerfed the amber gems, so with the life staff being the only focus-based weapon we have in the game right now, until the Void Gauntlet comes in, of course, then you know, this directly affects the life staff, and that's going to be pretty much it. So they did some indirect nerfs to the life staff as well, man.
Yeah, a lot of adjustments. You can tell it was a problem. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
That and armor were the two big problems in the open world PvP scene. We got those changes again. Very happy, and I think it'll improve PvE as well. Because you won't have everybody in the group like kind of crutching off of like medium heavy armor builds. Attribute threshold bonuses. So they adjusted strength 50, 100, and 150 attribute bonus thresholds to prevent the damage bonus from being applied to elemental melee attacks. It will only be applied to physical damage. So this is to prevent doubling down on bonuses when using elemental conversion gems to those attributes. That's a good thing. And then war. Small deployable infernal traps and powder kegs now have a shared deployment limit of 15 per team in war and invasions. That's crazy, dude. That is crazy nerf.
Another huge nerf, yeah.
To those type of things in wars.
As I said before, sieges are going to be so much different now, man.
Yeah, there was a big thing where people were gravity welling in people into inferno traps like nonstop, and it seems like, you know, that particular strategy might be off the table now. So why don't you go through some of the notable bug fixes here, Bordy, to wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, I think really the biggest notable bug fix out of all of these, and you guys can kind of read over these if you're interested in all of these bug fixes. There's a long list of them. So a couple of them are rewards from duels. So during the beta, if you guys weren't aware, you could duel and you could get PvP rewards from the duels, and people were kind of leveling up, getting some crazy rewards from doing that. So they took that out. So now whenever you duel, you no longer get rewards from dueling. They also fixed the Great Axe so that the heavy pull passive no longer causes the heavy attack to hit twice, which was a huge deal in the beta and why most people were running around with the Great Axe. I still think the Great Axe is going to be a very strong weapon. I think the kit on there is very good, but they did fix the bug. It's not a nerf. It was a bug. It was a flat out bug. They fixed it. I think those two are really the two most notable out of the entire list here. There may be some that we're missing, but you guys, again, you can kind of check that list out yourself. It's a very long list, so we don't want to go through all of them.
Yeah, and I will just say, again, any of the cleanses that were in the game, they seem to only now remove one debuff and not all of them. That was a pretty powerful mechanic that, was easy to utilize as far as like, the sword and shield and the life staff, and having the ability to kind of just drop every debuff that had been placed on you is pretty powerful in PvP, especially in sieges when you're getting those stacked on you. Bordy, overall, like you said, it'd be good to go ahead and look through all those. We'll have a link below, and by the time you see this, hopefully you'll be enjoying open beta. Let us know what you think about the open beta in the comments below. Come join us in our Discord. We'll be over there enjoying the open beta all weekend. So if you need a group to play with, come and hop on over there. Don't forget to hit the subscription button, the notification bell for more New World content like this. And special thanks to our Patreon, who you will see after the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.